Just want to start by thanking the Fiesta Bowl and PlayStation. It's been a really good week. I want to thank the administration and Sandy Barber and President Barron allowing us to get out here and really enjoy a whole week. Traveling for a West Coast game, we always think it's important to get out here and get adjusted to time and have a full week where the players early in the week can have a time to enjoy themselves and kind of experience what Arizona has to offer and what the Fiesta Bowl has to offer, and that's been excellent. We've gotten a lot of really good work in as well. I want to thank the media that's followed us all year, our local beat writers as well as national people that have followed us all year. Really appreciate you guys being here. Also, the people that came from Erie to cover us, you're welcome. Erie, Pennsylvania's got 53 inches of snow right now, so the beat writer from Erie I know is happy with us. But it's been a really good week. Our players, I think, have handled things the right way. We always talk about, when we leave, this bowl that, all the people, from the Fiesta Bowl and from PlayStation and from the hotel and the practice site, we should leave everybody with a really favorable impression about Penn State and the type of people we have. And I've been proud of how our guys have handled everything. We talk about at bowl games being present. And what I mean by that is, when they're going out with their buddies at night and enjoying the town, I want them to enjoy themselves. When we're playing kickball with kids from a local, charity event, I want them to enjoy that. And then when we're in meetings and we're at practice, let's be locked and loaded on that. Our guys have handled all those things really well. We had a dinner last night with our staff and our administration, with Washington staff and Washington's administration, and that was excellent as well. So I've been a part of a lot of different bowls all over the country. This is my first time at the Fiesta Bowl, and we just have had a fantastic experience. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to playing an exciting game against the University of Washington and a head coach and a staff that I have tremendous respect for. I've known Coach Peterson for a number of years now, and one of my guys just got hired as their offensive coordinator in Bush Hamden, and Bush is someone that I think very highly of, and Bush played for Coach Peterson at Boise, so I've heard nothing but great things about him, and my interactions have been excellent as well. So opening up the questions.
Fantastic. Once again, if you could please raise your hand, we'll have a mic runner come over and capture your question.
Good morning, James.
Good morning. Shorts.
Yeah, I figured I'd follow Brennan, follow his cue.
Love it.
Can you describe what you see on film from the Washington run defense and especially Vita Vea?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge. I think, they're a lot like us in a lot of ways. They're really sound in what they do. They're not overly complicated, which I think, to be honest with you, that's what the best defenses do and the best offenses do. They get good at something and do it well. I think the biggest difference for them is the defensive line. When you got a projected first-round draft choice at nose at 6'5" and 340 pounds, and then the three technique is 6'3", 325 pounds. And those two guys, they don't rotate the D-line a whole lot. Those guys play, a number of reps, and they kind of make it go for them. They're excellent against the run, and they're skillful in the secondary. And, again, I think, what you want to do defensively and offensively is, you want to, play a scheme that allows your players to play fast and allows your players to play confident, and do just enough defensively to give offenses pause when they're trying to game plan you and trying to figure out what you're doing. And I think that's what they do such a good job of, is that balance of having enough in your package that it keeps you honest and not predictable, but allows your players to play fast. And that's what I see. You don't have the success that Coach Peterson has had, without focusing on fundamentals, focusing on techniques, and having sound schemes that allow your guys to go out and play fast. So I've been very, very impressed with them, but I think the 2D tackles is what makes them go.
Next question.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Second row.
Hey, James, along the same lines of the defensive line and stopping the run, how does their ability to stop the run affect the way they prepare to stop the pass? I mean, if they can stack more guys in the box or don't have to stack more guys in the box, what does that do for your passing game?
Well, I think like anything, they're able to get you off schedule. So, most people on first and second down are going to try to mix the run in there and try to create advantageous third down situations. But because they're so stout against the run, now it puts them in a great position in passing situations, especially on third down, because you're facing a lot of third and longs. The other thing that they do a great job is they do a really good job on the perimeter in terms of perimeter runs, because what you say is you got those two big D tackles in there, and it's going to be challenging to run inside there, so now you want to better run the ball on the perimeter, but they do a really good job of defeating blocks. They do a really good job of whether they're bringing secondary pressure or whether they're playing what we call trap coverage, where the corner will play inside shade, and if he sees run, he's going to aggressively attack it, knowing that he's got help over the top with safety and things like that. So they do a really good job of complementing their D tackles and how they're able to stop interior runs with what they do on the perimeter, to stop perimeter runs as well. So the combination of all those things, but getting you off schedule, I think, is the most important thing that they do. And it's funny because earlier in the year I read an article about their defense, and I think the other thing that probably makes them go is their nickel. And I read an article earlier in the year that I'd sent to our coaches, both offensively and defensively, about their nickel and how this year they're playing with a 5'8" nickel who's a dynamic football player for them. But last year I think they played with a 6'3" nickel. They're a 4-2-5 defense overall, which is really kind of who we have been in our past. Coming to Penn State, obviously, in LBU. People don't really want to hear that you're going to take a linebacker off the field and play with 5 DBs, but that's really kind of who we have been in our history, in our past, and they've done a really good job with it and playing to the strengths of who that guy is. But it's interesting last year having a guy who's 6'3" play in that position compared to this year having a guy who's 5'8". I think they just put their best playmaker and the guy with the highest football IQ at that position. So. A combination of those two things, I think, has really helped them this year.
In the back.
Morning, James. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Really good. A lot of similarities between these two teams, from the records, your path to get here, playmakers on both sides of the ball. You kind of look at Washington sometimes and sort of see a mirror image of yourselves, even though there's some slightly different styles.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of similarities. I think. Both offense, defense, and special teams for both teams have an impact. Obviously, one of our biggest concerns going into this game is their punt return guy. You're talking about a guy that owns the NCAA record for returns for touchdowns. 9 is a lot, so that's scary. But you're looking at a team that, is disciplined. We're both very disciplined teams when it comes to penalties. Very few penalties for both teams. We typically have the advantage there. We don't. I think they're ranked 9th. We're 14th or somewhere in that ballpark. You're talking about, both teams that can win on special teams, can win on offense, can win on defense. Both teams, don't do a whole lot. We try to get good at what we do, whether it's the run game and RPOs on offense or whether on defense it's the coverages we run, the fronts, the pressures, things like that. There's a lot of similarities. You're looking at two programs that typically don't beat themselves. I think I learned that a long time ago. Before you have to worry about, beating other people, you can't beat yourself, and 75% of college football teams will beat themselves. You're looking at two teams that protect the football. Their quarterback throws for an unbelievably high percentage. Last year was a guy that was in the Heisman conversation. Very, very talented guy there as well. But both teams protect the football. Both teams don't have a whole lot of penalties. Both teams have explosive tailbacks that can make big plays. So it's interesting. You're talking about both programs got great history and tradition as well. So I do think it's an exciting game. I said last night, at the dinner, Coach Peterson was talking about wives and how he's got great wives on his staff, and I was mentioning, our situation's a little bit different. My wife, if you guys don't know this, she went to Washington State, so she's a Coug. So when we found out we were playing Washington in this game, she made it very clear to me, win this game or me and the kids are gone. It's an exciting game. There's no doubt about it, and two great programs, and I got so much respect for Coach Peterson, what he's been able to do in his career, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. We had a fantastic game last year, we're hoping that this one ends a little bit different.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning.
We get 45 minutes with the guys. You brought the whole team. What are the instructions that you give them on a day like today? And we only have so limited time. Any recommendations on someone we should spend a couple minutes with that that's pretty interesting?
Yeah, I think that's what makes football so exciting is you got 125 guys from so many different backgrounds and so many different perspectives. And I think the easy thing for you guys to do is to go talk to Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley's been interviewed enough. There's so many more stories on this team, different perspectives, different backgrounds. To me, probably the most valuable guys in our program are the guys that you don't know anything about, the guys that make the program run, the guys that allow us to practice the way we want to practice, the guys that sacrifice so much with their name not being in the newspaper, with them not scoring touchdowns. But, we talk all the time about every single person in our program has a significant role that impacts this team. And there's so many stories like that. So I would challenge you guys to venture out and talk to some guys that you haven't talked to before. I'm not telling you how to do your jobs, but we've read enough stories about Saquon Barkley and Trace McSorley, and there's so many other great stories on our team. And it's the walk-on, it's the freshman, it's the fifth-year senior that hasn't played, that toughed it out. The guys that came in here under very challenging times and saw it through. But even when we do that, we talk about the guys that have made so many plays to get this program back to where we want it to be. But there's so many more stories out there, and I think that's where I feel blessed and feel fortunate that I get to know these guys, on such a deep level, and I've learned so much from them. And the guys that follow us closely, guys like Deshaun Hamilton and his relationship with his brother, and that's the stuff that makes college football so great. You got so many different kids from so many different backgrounds and perspectives. You put them in the locker room. I think most of you guys know how we do the locker room. It's different than most locker rooms where most people sit by position. So all the quarterbacks sit here and all the O-line and D-linemen sit in different sections, and we don't do that. We change it every single year, and a kicker is going to sit next to a D-lineman, who's going to sit next to a wide receiver, who's going to sit next to a tight end. Because when you sit next to guys, at a locker, you get to know them very, very well, sometimes too well. And, I think that's one of the things that's so special about our sport. We also break our entire locker room up racially. So the whole locker room is broke up like that. So guys, are forced to get to know each other, on a very, very deep level. And again, I think that's what's special about college athletics, and that's what's special about football, bringing so many different people together from so many different backgrounds to learn from each other. That's why these bowl trips are important. We got a large percentage of our players that have never been to Arizona before. It's fulfilling. And, I know at the end of the day, it's about winning. We got to win. But we take so much pride in educating and graduating our players. I think we have 23 players with 26 different degrees, that are going to be playing in this game. And I'm fortunate and blessed to coach these guys and hang out with them daily.